There's a decent amount of indie-developed JRPGs out there, and there's a new one called The Tenth Line that tries something a little bit different. But is this a game that's worthy of the JRPG lineage, or is it one journey that's just not worth taking? The Tenth Line is a turn-based JRPG that mixes in a little bit of 2D side-scrolling platformer. The game's story revolves around a world that's on the brink of chaos. There's a doomsday prophecy about to be foretold, the king has been assassinated, and you play as a princess who's running away from her kingdom because of a cult that's starting to form up. Along the way, of course, companions will join you for the adventure as the events of the warring nations and the entire world in general start to unfold. The game is done in a 2D perspective. Most of the game you'll be exploring the various areas and platforming, discovering treasure chests, and getting into random encounters. There are 3 different difficulties in the game, and if you play on the easiest, you won't have the random encounters, just the main storyline bosses that you'll have to deal with, which is a nice little touch for those who just want to do the main story. However, on the other difficulties, there are plenty of random encounters for you to get involved in. When traveling and platforming throughout most areas, each of the characters moves on their own. You have to control them individually to get them through each area. They each also have their own abilities, such as the princess being able to have extra strength to push rocks for platforming, as well as the one character being able to use different elemental breaths to help you get through areas. Since each character is traveling alone, if you end up having a character get into a battle and no one else is nearby, you may have to wait a turn or two for them to end up joining you in whatever fight you're in. You also have the ability to attack, so you can get the jump on certain enemies, though if you run into them or the enemies run into you, they end up ambushing you and of course get the first turn of attack. Inside the battles themselves, it's turn-based, and you have to use your skill points in order to pull off certain moves. If you don't have enough skill points, you won't be able to pull off certain moves, or even any of the moves, so you may have to rest with certain characters. There's no health items or weapon management here. Instead, you're just able to either block and rest your characters between turns in order to gain a little bit of your health back, or use certain moves that they're able to learn throughout to help them in the battles. What's interesting though is if a character gets KO'd, they're not eliminated from the battle. After a few turns, they will actually pop back up and be able to rejoin you. As long as you have at least one of your characters still going, you'll be able to continue the fight. And if you end up getting wiped during battles, if it's a boss, you'll have the option to surrender or restart the fight. And if you're in one of the random encounters, instead of just being a game over, instead you just lose a little bit of your money. To aid you in battle though, there's also assist characters. You can have 2 of these at a given time. You get a few of them throughout the course of your adventure, and they're able to pull off special moves. Kind of a basic one and then a kind of ultimate move that they're able to do based on the momentum that's built up during the course of the battles. And these can be very helpful and in fact turn the tide of battle in your favor. You do gain experience to level up, and then you use a grid-like system in order to boost the stats of your characters, whether it be attack, health, or defense. Basically, you have a large grid with a bunch of different symbols representing things like attack, defense, and the like. You can place various items that you find throughout the game through treasure chests, battles, and completing side quests in order to place these items on your grid, and they represent boosts to different stats. But if you put a defensive item in a defensive spot on the grid, you'll get a boost for even more stats, so it pays off to level up and use the right items on the right spots in order to get the most out of your characters. Along with the main quest line, there are side quests for you to complete involving various enemies that you may have to defeat or get certain items and then bring them back to certain characters, as well as there's actually a full-blown card game that you get to play, collecting new cards along your journey, as well as being able to play against certain characters throughout. This is actually a very cool system and is similar to some of the card games we'd see in the likes of Final Fantasy VIII and Final Fantasy IX. From a presentation wise, while you do have that whole kind of retro sprite-based stuff going on, which some people may not end up liking, I did like the character artwork for the character portraits and the like, as well as there is voice acting in the game. It's not full voice acting, but I thought the voices that were included for certain situations ended up working well. It may take a little bit to get used to the whole character progression as well as battles in general, but once you do so, I thought it was quite rewarding. It's that interactive style of battle system where instead of just pressing the attack button and see what happens, you do have to do a little bit of button pressing, as well as also button pressing to defend for your characters, so you always have to be paying attention throughout. From the technical side of things though, the game ran smoothly. I didn't run any major glitching, crashing, or slowdown of any sort. The 10th Line is available now on the PlayStation 4 and Steam for $9.99, and it does feature a full trophy list including a Platinum. The 10th Line is one of those really nice surprises that kind of comes out of nowhere and not a whole lot of people are talking about, but it's actually a very solid game with a good story and some great music and overall a different little twist to the JRPGs that we see mostly now released. The 10th Line is a game that's well worth your time if you're a JRPG fan, especially at its relatively low price point. With everything said, I'm going to be giving the 10th Line an 8 out of 10. But anyway guys, it's going to wrap up this review. I'd like to thank you for watching, and of course I hope you enjoyed.